Well, hello, everybody. It's the Crown Car Care Hour. It's another 5 o'clock on a fine Monday afternoon. We got no rain in sight. We got cooler weather coming. We have no hurricanes facing us. I know the West Coast has got some hurricanes or a hurricane coming on down the pike.
Yeah, I think we'll get maybe a little wind and rain out of it.
Well, we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
clear some of the dead branches off the trees. Keep everybody working on their toes.
Yep. Get all the bug spider off
And
your
we're
car.
here in the radio station, here at the Heritage Station of Martin County at the foot of the Roosevelt Bridge, bringing it to you live. We're going to be talking cars. We love cars and we're knowledgeable on it. We're going to give you a little bit of news like we always do from Big Frank, and then we're going to jump into our show. Crown Car Care. We've got 2 locations to serve you here in Martin County. We go as far. We have many customers from down in Palm Beach County and further, and we have customers far as Vero that come to visit us. Why?
Wow.
Why?
Why? Do tell. Why?
Why? Why? Because it's the service we provide, the value we provide, and the fact that we care about your car and you, and what we say is what we do, and we deliver what we say.
All right.
And then we have 2 locations here in Martin County. We have one on Cove Road, Stuart 4455 Southeast Cove Road. Mike's the manager over there. The phone number is 283, of course, area code 772.
Right.
283-4707. And then we have our Palm City location that started it all down there by the Turnpike entrance off 714. Everybody seems to know us mostly at that location. It's our original location. We do everything from diesel trucks to electric cars out there. Chris is our manager, and our phone number is
772-8000.
781-8000.
Yes.
It rolls off your tongue. It's a good phone number.
Yes.
And you know what's the funniest thing? I just got that number. I mean, it came.
Businesses always get
I got a good number. I
numbers,
didn't have to pay for it, but 772-781-8000. What a
Right.
nice number. It rolls off the tongue, and we'd be glad to answer the phone if you call. Ask us a question. Schedule a service.
Right.
Tow it in.
Yeah.
I hope you don't have to tow it in. If you do, we're going to have to fix it for you.
Yeah.
But if you drive it in, we can do some maintenance for you. We can change your oil. We can put a set of wiper blades on. If you're out there, if you have to set your clock, that can be a chore. Some of these newer cars.
Right.
Bring it in. We'll set it for you.
Make sure the radio's tuned to 1450.
Absolutely. Well, that's the only station we put on. Are you kidding? The Heritage Station.
That's
the only one.
So before we get started, I
Sure.
wanted to make sure you know, there's a symphony orchestra by the name of the Danish National Symphony Orchestra. Have you heard of them?
No, I have not.
Well, they play some interesting music.
Let's hear it. Oh my!
That could be your ringtone.
That could be the good, the bad, and the ugly. I could say that about cars, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. What's an ugly car?
Oh, what is an ugly?
Pontiac Aztek.
Well,
I believe that's the most sinful car that's ever been made, my friends.
That probably qualifies.
And you know what? It came with an option. You could get a tent that you put in the back to go camping. Aztek.
Sure. Very cool.
With its plastic clad siding.
Yeah.
Plastic clad siding. It was a ugly unit. Ugly car. I don't know if it was quite as ugly as the Pacer was, the AMC Pacer. I believe that was a fishbowl.
Right. That was called the Pacemaker.
Pacemaker.
Yes.
And what's a good looking car?
I think the Chevrolet Corvette still.
I do. And I had a car come in this morning that we took delivery of for a customer. He just bought it out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
A Lamborghini rolls off the tongue. Espada. They made about 712 of them, and he's got one of them. 1973. It's a brown metallic with 21,000 original miles.
Sweet.
Has a V12 engine, people. V12. And guess who drove it around today?
Ooh,
I got that. And this thing howls like a wolf. It's a howling wolf. V12. Singing. It sings. Them old cars, they sing. And it's a, 400 or 500 horsepower manual transmission. This thing is just a screaming eagle.
Probably just sitting in the garage listening to it idle.
A V12, because the more cylinders you have, they're smaller displacement, but the more cylinders you have and the higher you rev it, it's that harmonic tone that develops from the exhaust from all those cylinders firing that creates the music. That music that us gearheads love to listen to, and boy do we ever.
You betcha.
That's the thing about electric cars. There's no sound anymore. Some of them
they're talking about adding that.
Some of them add sound because think about the safety aspect of it.
Right.
Imagine if
Can't hear them coming.
I hate to say it, but imagine if you were blind, or situations arise where you might not see it coming from behind you. We generally take for granted that there's a sound associated with the car. And these electric cars, a lot of the brakes are actually the electric motor,
Right.
Using it as a dynamo to generate electricity. So there's no sound either braking because there's no brake squeak. There's brakes as a safety mechanism, but 95% of your braking is done with the electric motor, using it to generate juice to go back into the battery. That's how they become so efficient as well. So there's no sound except for the stereo blasting. And by the way, that's going to be one of our topics today, Big Frank.
Yes,
Stereo.
indeed.
We're going to talk about radios. But before we get into the radios and the diesels and what is a timing belt, those are our three topics today.
Okay. All right. Timing
Give us
belts,
some news.
diesels. Yeah.
Yeah, and radios.
And
How about
radios.
some news. Enlighten me about the world.
Well, have
Frank.
you heard of a brand called Faraday?
Faraday? I've heard of William Faraday. I
Yeah.
believe he develops actually it's radio. I believe. Wasn't it?
Faraday's, I think, is something in the electronics. Yes.
Electronics,
Mhm.
yeah. A Faraday machine or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And well, anyways, there is now a automotive company called Faraday,
Faraday.
and their funding though hit a snag. So don't look for them to.
Yeah, they
So
unless Elon Musk can come to the rescue. I believe he's
Right.
unemployed at this point.
another item in the news: GM's China's sales have slipped into reverse, dropping
Oh, no.
15% as
there could be
market
some
stalls.
hangover effect with this. I
I think-
believe this tariff thing going on
Correct.
and battle trade wars and things.
Correct. And Honda and GM just linked up on a deal on a car call on a
Oh, that's interesting.
new
That's
company
interesting.
that GM bought called Cruise.
Interesting.
Have you
Is
heard
it-
about
is that? Driverless cars, I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly right. And so this is a big deal. Cruise is a young startup backed by a giant automaker. It is fast proving its potential to propel General Motors into a leadership role in its self-driving vehicles.
Hmm.
Cruise, which GM acquired in 2016, now has the backing of renowned technology investment firm and a rival automaker, Honda Motor Company, which last week agreed to invest $2.75 billion with a B in Cruise over the next 12 years.
Interesting. At first, when I heard about driverless cars, I was, of course, we always do something new. You're going to be against it. I embrace it now. I think it's a great idea, and it creates jobs. We've got engineering involved,
Right.
software, new technologies. What the heck? Let's go for it.
Right.
I think it's a great idea, and
Yep.
I'm embracing it, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So, but what's going on now, Fiat Chrysler prepares to produce a plug-in hybrid, the Jeep Renegade.
We've been talking about that lately. I think we're seeing a trend here, aren't we, with
We
these
are.
hybrids going
Mhm.
across different brands that we never thought we'd probably see, right?
Yep.
Prius and Honda. Honda had actually the first hybrid, and it was that. Remember that one that it looked like a bullet almost? It was real aerodynamic looking. It was a 2-seater only,
Oh, right. I
all
can't
made
think.
out of
Yeah.
aluminum. Yeah, that was the first one. And then Prius jumped in with the first and second and third generation. I've got a second generation Prius we use as a shop vehicle that we loan to people when we drive around. You might have seen it. It's wrapped. It says Crown Car Care on it.
Yeah.
If you follow it around, I might give you a free set of wiper blades.
Okay.
But you see it all over town. You just might see me driving. If you do wave to me, I'll wave back. I'm always happy, always friendly.
Yes.
Can't wait to talk to you.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So basically, the thing is, though, the conflict, the conversation the United States and China is having with trade
Yes,
is definitely
yes,
affecting the sales in China has slumped,
yes.
and automotive sales. And as a result, even I think Land Rover is, Jaguar Land Rover is idling their UK plant for 2 weeks.
Really?
For 2 weeks as the sales slump in China.
So we're seeing some delayed lag on other industries because of these talks. Well, we've been hung up for the last couple of weeks about
The judge.
justice, and I don't
Yes.
have no comment on that because I really don't. I don't.
Right.
It is what it is, and it played out. And we now have a new justice.
Correct.
God bless the country. We have a new justice, and that's the way it is. No comment. I have no opinion on it. Actually, fine man. Well, that depends on who you talk to, I guess. But
Yes.
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But what a great country we live in, huh?
I think so.
We
so.
never get in trouble. We're always safe. We have God blessing us, and God bless America. What a great country. That's all I can say.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So that's it for you. Automotive news. I think we're going to be watching as the trade talks continue between us and China.
Yes, and we'll keep you posted, as you
Right.
know, every week.
Yes.
Thick or thin,
Yes.
you've got the dynamic duo here with our car talk at
Yes.
every 5 o'clock on a Monday. You've got the Crown Car Care Hour with Big Frank and his sidekick Todd, and
You're right.
we-
Okay.
and he's, let me tell you, he's big. They've actually had to bring a bigger chair in
Oh,
here
yeah.
because he's
Extra padding, yes.
extra padding. He collapsed the other one.
Oof.
Hot Wheels. Anyone remember?
Sure, Hot
cars?
Wheels are they're all the rage when we were kids, right?
1968 was when
Yeah.
it first came out. 1968, there was 16 original models.
Mhm.
16. I've got just about every one of them. Of the 16, I think I have like 12 of the first 16.
Yeah.
I still have them to this day.
I could never make the Hot Wheels work on that.
The loop where you just had to get that one track up higher. You had to use gravity, of course, and then
Yes.
you couldn't bend the wheels. If you bent the wheel, you're in trouble.
Right.
Remember them wire? They had a little wire, looked like a
Yeah.
safety pin wire that was the axle,
Right.
and they called them red lines. And you know why they called them red line Hot Wheels?
Why? do they
Because on
call
the
it-
tire,
yes.
remember there was a rage in the 60s
Sure.
with the red white wall. Well,
Yes.
it's a white wall, but I guess that's the word we use for it. A white wall was that little stripe around the tire where they used to make a red.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the hotter cars, like the Royal Bobcat, the Pontiac Tempest, some of the GTOs would come with a red sidewall.
Yep.
So Hot Wheels, because it was a performance toy, would come with a red line, and that's how they identified the red line Hot Wheels. And those were the original ones. And boy, there's quite a market out there.
Yeah.
I've got a book here I brought in that I picked up at the bookstore, and boy, you've seen some with technology and the ability for us to use CNC machining and computer technology and CAD drawings. We're able to really, a couple of the cars have been made life size. Actually,
Right.
they've taken some of the vehicles and toys that we played with, and they've actually made real live models.
Sweet.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to drive one.
Yeah.
I just love them. I'm paging through this, and it's bringing back the memories. I can remember the red track with the little inserts that connected them together, and I had
Sure.
quite a collection. And I had a little box that had batteries, and it would propel the car when it went through it. It was a spinning rubber wheel, and it would
Right.
shoot the car back out, and it was the loop to loop.
Right.
Oh, but if you could do the loop to loop,
That was
you had a fast one.
Yeah.
And
It
who,
was
who
sweet.
remembers the competition for Hot Wheels? Johnny Lightning.
Johnny Lightning.
Johnny Lightning. And guess who has Johnny Lightning cars? The
Guess.
one and only
Wow.
host of Crown Car Care Hour. That's me.
Nice.
I've got some Johnny Lightning cars. Very interesting stuff. I've got some interesting stuff out there. I've got Hot Wheels that were Sizzlers.
Whoa. Yeah.
Now, they were little electric ones, battery powered. You charge them up with the juice machine.
Right.
It was this, looked like a gas station. You
Right.
put D-cell batteries in it, 4 of them, and you'd hold down the top and you'd plug it in. And with the plug that went into these Sizzlers was actually a headphone. It was for a headphone. Remember the earphones you'd get with your AM radio?
Right.
That little plug on it
Right.
usually it was a chrome, a spacer, and then chrome, and you'd plug that thing in. That's what they used to charge it. They had plus and minus, the positive and negative, and you'd charge this thing up and you'd hold it. If you held it a little bit longer, you get a little extra juice in that thing. Then there's a switch on the bottom. You turn them on, and they'd run around the track themselves, battery operated.
Nice.
I don't know how many loops you get. 4 or 5 loops. You have to recharge it. Boy, I don't think kids would be patient.
No.
I don't think they'd have to go 20, 30 times before they'd want to play with it. Right?
But that was all part of the process, which was half the fun, right? I mean,
half the
going
f-
through the process.
Do you know
of
what half the
taking
fun
it
with
to
me
the-
was with toys?
What's
Was
that?
packing them back up and putting them in the box. I have all
Yeah.
the original boxes and stuff. I was
Yeah.
putting them back in the box,
Right.
making sure everything was there. I never lose a piece. I always
Nice.
had all the connectors, and that's kind of the way I am with cars here in our world with repair.
So
I
those
can tell
skills
you-
never leave
I can
you.
tell you out
Yeah.
there, if you bring your car in, we're not going to mess with the radio. We're not going to move the seat. And if we do, we'll put it back. We're going to wipe the steering wheel. We're going to check all your fluids, and we're not going to do any monkey business. We're going to fix your car, and you can be confident that when we road test it, we're only going to do the minimum, but we need to assure your repair or maintenance on it. We're going to keep it nice. We keep your car at Crown Car Care just as if it was ours.
There you go.
And you'll feel real good about that, people out there. When you bring your car to Crown Car Care, you can trust us. You really can. And I can tell you, we've been in business 13 years.
Yeah.
2 locations.
It doesn't happen by accident, does it?
No.
No.
And let me tell you, you're only as good as your next job you do. In my business, it's
The same thing in,
I-
custom picture framing.
that's what you did. Yeah,
Right.
or do. It you have to,
Yeah.
you can't rest on what they say your
Right.
laurels. You
Right.
just continually have to better yourself. And in our world of automotive, as we know, the technology is marching forward at a pace that's sometimes taxes my own brain. I'm going to tell you, it is tough to keep up with the knowledge that is required for me to be able to take your car into my custody or my shop and really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We have to train. In fact, I'm going to tell you, the end of this month, I'm going up to Orlando for 2 days for some training with a couple of my technicians.
Nice.
And of course, that's what we do. It's not going to be fun in games. I guess it's fun in games. We enjoy it, but we're going up there for book smart stuff. We're going to have hands-on. We're going to learn some latest technology on some diesel engines, Sprinters, by the way, the Mercedes Sprinters, the vans, and we're going to learn about them.
Right.
Or learn more about them, shall I say. We already service them and work on them, but we need to keep up on this stuff. There's a lot of new things on vehicles, pollution control. There's new technologies that are coming on board that if you don't have the proper training and the information, as well as the equipment, it's like trying to play baseball.
Game over.
It's like trying to play baseball with a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And what happens is subpar service, and you end up with an unhappy car, and then that translates into an unhappy guest or customer.
Right.
It's not going to happen with us. We're going to tell you, we embrace this stuff. We really believe in it. And what I say is what I do.
Right.
And we're going to really deliver that product just like you do here at this radio station. Frank, you've been here how long?
Oh, over 10 years.
10 years you've been at this station.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, he's been through, well, he's on his second chair now because he's been growing at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
Frank's been really working out at the gym lately, and it's showing. He's wiping years off. As we go, moving on to the next. So
Yes.
Hot Wheels are, okay, what do you think the price, Frank, is of the most expensive Hot Wheels sold?
The models.
Yeah, the low Hot Wheels models, most expensive one.
Most expensive sold, I don't know, maybe $100.
Guess again,
Oh,
$72,000.
72,000. You can buy a real car for that.
Yeah, it was the Beach Bomb. It was a VW bus
Yes.
with two surfboards coming out the back. $72,000, and it was the color of the car that was rare. They only made one of them, and it was one of their prototypes.
Yeah.
And there's a collector. I'm looking at this book. You can get it at the bookstore, people. It's a Hot Wheels Wild History, and I paid I don't know what, $12.99 I paid for this softback book, but it's chock full of information. And there's a man by the name of Bruce Pascal that has $1 million Hot Wheel collection.
$1 million.
And boy, does he love them. And there's a whole chapter here on this. And if you really like nostalgia, history, and love like I do, I was a child of the 60s and 70s. I love Hot Wheels. I just love playing with it. And to this day, I love them.
Sure.
And this book, I'm paging through it right now. You might be able to hear the pages going. It is quite big. Gosh, it's almost, it's 90 some pages, 100 pages long. And it is just information after information. There's vintage photos of them making them. Here, look, here, Frank. You can't see it, but I'm showing Frank. There's a picture of the manufacturing of them. Hawthorne, California, people, is where they were made.
Very cool.
And it was the brainchild.
What a neat assembly line. Yeah.
It was the brainchild of one man, and his name was Elliot Handler. And he's the man that cooked up the idea of Hot Wheels. It was with Mattel Corporation.
Correct.
Which is, you remember Toys Mattel?
Sure.
They had
a lot
creepy
of
crawlers.
toys,
If you want to go in time machine, the creepy crawlers was a goop. You put goop in a mold and heat it up, and you'd have all kinds of things. Well, let me tell you, I was involved in every bit of it. Every year, I can remember getting the J.C. Penney catalog, the toy catalog.
Right.
And I think I wore that thing out. In fact, to this day, I went on eBay a couple of years ago and bought some of the original catalogs that I looked at the same year. 69 and 70 were the best ones because that was the creme de la creme of the year with toys and cars and the creepy crawlers and all that stuff. And I still have them at home, and I look at them, and it brings back memories of me as a boy, fingering through those catalogs, just wishing Santa was going to bring me this or that. And I can remember every year getting something special from, obviously, Santa would bring me stuff, and I think I heard him on the roof a couple times.
Yeah, of course.
He'd deliver all kinds of stuff down to
Make
me.
a lot of racket.
Oh my
up there.
gosh, with those reindeers, you got to keep them fed too. That's why he ate the cookies.
Yeah.
And people, it's coming up. What are we up about 2.5 months away?
Yeah, they'll be here before you know it.
We'll be putting, and we're going to go all out this year with the studio. We're going to put decorations
Oh, you
everywhere. It's
bet.
going to be lit up like a Christmas tree, and we're just going to live the moment.
Yep.
We love Christmas here
We
at the
do.
radio station
We
at
do.
WSTU, the heritage station of Martin County. And it's been here. God, what's the history of
It's
STU?
like 60 some odd years, 64
60 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
And what a great owner, Greg. Boy, he knows his baseball,
Oh, he does.
just like Big Frank does.
More
If you
than
ever-
I do.
If you
More
ever
than
run
I
into
do.
Big Frank, ask him about the Detroit Tigers.
Yes.
Detroit Tigers. he's quite a fan. He's got to play. You've been to camps and you played with the players. Well, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, let's get so the Hot Wheels. We've talked about Hot Wheels,
Right?
And we're going to be coming up to a break here in a
We
little
got
bit.
about another minute.
We're going to run a minute here. Let me run down what's on. Let me tease you here. So we've done the Hot Wheels.
Yep.
Our next topic, Frank, is going to be car radios and the evolution of it.
Okay.
Everyone will go in time machine again. Let's talk about 8-tracks and cassettes, DVDs, and what we have now. Then we're going to get into, let's do timing belts next, because I think that's a good topic. Everyone hears the word timing belt. You have to change it. What is it? What is a timing belt? What's the consequences of not doing it? Well, I can tell you the consequences.
Can you cinch up your timing belt?
Can you tighten that thing up for me? Just tighten her up a little bit. Just tighten her up, would you? Just get her going. Tighten her up. And then if time permits, we'll get into the diesels. We'll talk about direct injection and common rail.
Cool.
Okay, so it's interesting topics. We've got some good stuff going on, and I hope you like the Hot Wheels we talked about. And if you ever want to talk more, come to Crown Carpenter. I'll bring my collection in for you to show.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, you got to be special. I'll do it. So, all righty. What a great day. All right, see you in a little bit. Yep, stay tuned. Yep,
we'll be right back. All right, now it's time for today's Southeast AgNet Report, brought to you by Everglades Farm Equipment, a family-owned business for the past 50 years with 10 Florida locations, including Fort Pierce, Okeechobee, and Loxahatchee. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. You're listening to Crown Car Care.
Boy, that was fast, quick.
Whoa, yes.
I can remember I used to watch a show on TV. It was a radio show. It took place in Cincinnati, Ohio.
WKRP
in Cincinnati, and they would do a farm report. It was with Les Nessman, I believe.
Exactly.
He would do the
My favorite gag out of that show was when they did the turkey
I
drop.
was just going to say, you remember the turkey drop?
Oh my!
He had they even used the helicopter sound effect, and they had
Yes.
Les up there dropping the turkeys, and it was the other salesman I think was involved too on it.
Yes.
And they dropped, and then I think he acted like the Hindenburg
Yes.
guy.
Oh, the
And
humanity.
it's worth it. People out there, if you haven't seen this episode,
Google
it, YouTube
Yes.
it, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
The turkey drop, WKRP in Cincinnati.
That's
You remember
right.
that? Oh, it's
Oh,
great.
yes. On this date in 1871, guess what happened?
What happened?
Well, Patrick and Catherine O'Leary had a cow that kicked over a lamp.
That cow was up to no good.
It was indeed. And of course, with the southwesterly winds, flames raged for more than 24 hours in the area, eventually leveling 3.5 square miles and wiping out 1/3 of the city of Chicago.
The Great Chicago Fire.
Right. Approximately 250 people were killed in the fire, and 98,500 people were left homeless.
I think there was a song in the 70s, The Crazy Night Chicago Died.
Yes.
Do you remember that song?
Yeah,
The
of
Crazy
course.
Night Chicago Died.
Yeah.
That was a good song.
It was a good
Do you know, I like some of those old songs of the
Yeah.
70s.
Mhm.
One of my favorite songs, and you remember, it is one of my favorites. It was sung by Gordon Lightfoot, who was a Canadian singer,
Yes.
and it was about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yes.
And it was a ship in the Great Lakes that
Mhm.
sank.
Yep.
And boy, did I like that song.
Yes.
Did you know
Oh,
the
of
song? And you're
course.
from Michigan.
Oh,
I
of
know you
course.
have to remember that. It
Yes,
was a
yeah.
big situation. I think it was in the 60s, I believe it was, or
Yeah.
late 50s, early 60s when the ship sank.
Yep.
And I believe it hit ice or something, and the hull cracked.
Yep.
And it just sunk to the bottom. And it was, it was a commercial, I believe it was a shipping vessel of some sort.
Correct.
The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And if you really want to hear, the culture and the feeling of the 70s, I'd urge you to listen to that song. That song just reeks of reminiscent of what that era and time was, the feeling. If you really want to catch that, the vibe of the
Just get the
70s,
flavor,
the
yeah.
flavor of how you
Yeah.
felt. It was
Yeah.
a lot of real good trebly guitar-y sounds, and it was a solo, and it was almost like a poem slash, it
Mhm.
was a lot of them songs were like that back
Right.
in the
Ballad.
70s. Ballad type
Mhm.
poem, and it was
Right.
just my favorite song.
Yeah.
Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and it almost brings tears to your eyes, and you don't know why. It is that type of song. It's kind of like some Bob Seger stuff. Turn the Page. That was another one from the early 80s. That was another one of those type songs that just made you pause for a moment, look up at the stars, and think of the great world we live in.
Contemplate. Yes.
Yes. And
Indeed.
I
All right. Well, we're contemplating.
car radios, aren't we?
Yes. Let's contemplate a car radio.
Well, I'm going to talk.
What's
I'm
going
gonna-
on with those?
I'm going
things?
to talk about the history of it a little bit. Car radios, I believe. Do you know back in the 40s and 50s, car radios, a lot of them had tubes,
Wow.
tube radio, and on some Oldsmobiles,
Right.
as an option, you could get a record player. I'm not kidding you. Look it up.
How did that work?
Yes, it was a pull-out, a 78. 78, you remember? I don't know
Oh,
if
sure.
anyone, I don't know if I'm
The-
talking Greek out there, but that was
78s were a little bit like LPs.
it was the speed. 78 revolutions per minute. It was
Right.
a lot of them. 45 was 45 revolutions per minute. It had to do with the rotation speed, basically, and that was
Correct.
just the identifying.
And then with different size discs.
Now, a lot of people
Yes.
didn't know what the number meant. They just knew that 78 was this. It was slightly smaller than what we were used to as a double album from the 70s and 80s, but it was real thick plastic,
Right.
heavy carbonate. It was almost, I
Vinyl.
think it was cellulose.
They called it vinyl.
But it was thick.
Yes.
You remember them thick ones? And you
Yeah.
could actually crack them
Oh,
rascals.
you bet you can.
And Decca Records back with Motown.
Mm-hmm.
But 78s, okay, so this option, you can play a record. And I don't know how that, I guess it was mounted on springs. I can't imagine going over a bump, can you?
I think that you probably, when you were parked, if you went to a picnic or something like
For
that.
the submarine races.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect time
Yeah,
for that.
I heard about those.
Yes. my dad was telling me about that. He would, yes. Yes.
And, but
yes.
I
Mhm.
don't think you'd play it while you were driving.
No, I would hope not.
Okay, so let's leap forward. So you got AM and FM.
Yes.
Okay, so amplitude modulation and frequency modulation are the two nomenclatures that we listen to.
Which
And a lot of people, again, we don't know the science behind it. I'm not going to get too detailed into it, but it is a different type
of signal.
of distribution signal,
Right.
right? We're on AM right here, this
Right.
1450, right? 1450, and
Mhm.
it's the best frequency out there. I'd argue that we stand amplitudes above any other AM station. We got the best content here locally in Martin County. You get the news locally. You have great flavor and great shows, and you get Crown Car Care Hour every Monday at 5 o'clock. And with the AM and FM, AM was generally the accepted norm when your radio would
talk about that.
Norm that would
Stand by. Hang on. We've got Deb on the line, and she wants to talk about record players in the cars.
Oh, Deb, hello there, Deb. Give us a nice to have you on our radio show. We'll give you the mic and go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Oh, thank you. I'm a muscle girl, and I grew up with everybody in my repertoire. We all had muscle cars and worked on weekends, and we all had record players. We modified them.
Oh, wow.
And play them.
Yeah.
We all modified so that when you stopped or you were at a barbecue or you were here or there, you could put your tunes on.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
Right before the 8-tracks actually came out.
Yeah. It's so great to hear your voice, and so just a pleasure for you to call us. Yeah, I think it's taking you on the Wayback Machine when you think about some of these things, and boy, the memories that it brings. I'm sure with you too. It just makes me smile about the simpler days, and I just think about all that stuff, and I just love to hear these stories.
It was, and to put speakers in the back and speakers in the door panels. You just rip the door panels off, cut them. They would pop back in. You'd have your speakers and you wire them.
Oh, heck yeah. You did it all yourself, and away you go.
So simple.
Boy, everything was simpler back then, wasn't it? I could buy a candy bar for a nickel, and I'd buy a soda for a nickel, and I still had a little bit of money left over to go to McDonald's and get a burger. Right?
That's true. They were probably 15 cents back then.
15 cents, and I think they'd served millions even then. Now they're in the billions. But yes, the record player, boy. But I can remember my first record I ever bought was the Beach Boys' "Endless Summer." I can tell you that right now. Beach Boys' "Endless Summer."
I have that one.
Yeah, great cartoons.
Yep.
And
oh yeah.
Yeah, and the 8-tracks. I don't know if you had any 8-track tape player, but I can remember having an 8-track even yet.
I did until 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I sold my house, and the 8-track, I left it in the garage with big speakers. And all the 8-tracks, I left them worked.
Oh, I know. You know what's so great about the 8-track is it was a continuous loop, so you could cycle through and get to your song right away.
Right, you could.
You just push a button, and it was called 8-track because you had 4 channels you could push the button on, and each channel was stereo sound, so you had 2 tracks per channel. So it was 4 times 2 is 8. That's why it was called an 8-track. And they were neat. They'd plug right in, and there was the sticker on the thing that showed what it was, and you just slapped it right in there, and away you went, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And you always had a little box to put them all in.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you for calling. It's great.
Well, thank you for taking my call. You
Absolutely.
Guys have a great evening, and it's always a joy to listen to you.
You guys you're great. Thank you so much for your compliment, and fabulous. You have a great week and a blessed weekend yourself.
Okay.
You bye. Yeah. Bye.
Right, bye.
Bye.
Well, it was great. Boy, it brings back. Everyone likes to talk and think about their younger years.
Yeah.
And we all have younger years because we're all at some point, wherever we're at, we think about the past. And my gosh, we're talking about radios here on this fine Monday. And we've talked about the record player and the AM and FM. So AM was the basic radio, I would say, that came standard in your car. You could get a delete if you didn't get a radio, but for the most part, AM was the name of the game for years, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they would run a lot of watts through those AM.
Oh my gosh, because it would take. Here's just a little bit of information. FM travels further.
Yes,
it does. So it takes a little more juice. So WSTU, we've got a direct link with the nuclear power plant. We've got so much power pumping out. Right, big old thick cable we got. It's going right over that plant in Jensen Beach.
Little hot, but otherwise
we're glowing here in the station.
Oh yeah, otherwise.
So you had AM and FM.
Yes.
Okay, and then remember you'd switch it back and forth, and then you had stereo on the FM. You had stereo. Okay, and that would give you that kind of feeling like it was live.
Yes.
Kind of like you're feeling now.
You get the voice on the left ear, and then you get the music track on the right.
Well, that's why we have Todd and Frank. We have stereo. That's what we're doing. We got 2 microphones here, and we're doing the stereo effect for everyone out there.
Yes.
So AM and FM, and you always had the option of generally an 8-track because that was really all there was.
Right.
I don't think next evolution was the cassette, but let's talk about the 8-track. Like we've been a little bit here talking about it. You buy the 8-track, and the only downside to the 8-track is they would wear out fairly at a decent clip. So if you did a lot of switching,
especially the heat in the car would kill them.
you kill it. And remember, it was a continuous loop, so it had a feed on itself, so it had to go around some stainless steel rollers that were built into that cassette that plastic housing. So if you can think about it, it was like taking a ball of string and pulling it out of the center and then wrapping it back around the outside. And you had to change. You're right. You know, when you buy a ball of string, if you get the right end, it actually works. If you don't, you're just continually unwinding the thing. Everyone out there, ball string, if you pull from the middle, they design it so it just pulls out when you need it. If you wrap it from the outside, you have to continually fix it. Well, that's the way an 8-track tape worked. It fed on itself and rewind. And the problem is that change of direction, that radical 90-degree change of direction in the 8-track itself was its pitfall.
Right.
And the size. It was of good size.
I
remember back in the old days, everything was big. Texas was big. The hats were big. Everything was big, by golly. It was. That's the way it worked back then.
Yeah.
And then we had, what did we have?
The cassettes. Yeah, that was a huge innovation.
And that was.
We're still using cassettes to this day.
But that was the big.
That was a
big
game changer.
Boom for the music industry, for Clarion. Everyone remember if you bought an aftermarket radio, Clarion.
Right.
Clarion.
Right.
And then you had BASF. BASF was the big tape maker, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then you had all the different types of tapes. You had the metal tapes, the CRO2 tapes. You had all, and then by gosh, if you really were into it, you had the different types of, you had switches on there for the different types of tapes that you were playing.
You can record your own tapes and bring them with
And let me
you.
tell you, if you had the metal tapes, you were in high fidelity.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
High fidelity.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
talking, and they were expensive, some of these tapes.
Sure.
And of course, you could record your own. Now, Frank, in old radio days, didn't you have a reel to reel?
We had reel to reel. We had, yes.
And you had something similar to an 8-track, didn't you? What was that called?
They were called carts.
Carts. Okay.
And they looked just like an 8-track, but it was just a loop of 30 or 60 seconds. And then we would put all the carts in a rack.
A rack, okay.
And then
that was how you did the ads, I guess, for the stations.
Right.
Remember, you didn't have computers per se.
So we'd have to hand fire that rack to play whatever sound we wanted to hear.
You know what? Here's a truth. You know what big business used when they first did big mainframe computers, big computers back in the 50s?
Mm-hmm.
Payroll and inventory.
Yeah.
Payroll and inventory is what they did. And I can tell you that because that's what my father did.
All
My father was in the ground floor with Kraft Foods, and he helped design all the computer systems at Kraft. And he was in he remembered 2 roomfuls of tubes on the IBM mainframe. That was my dad. So Wayback Machine again. Yeah.
Imagine the air conditioner they needed for that room.
Well, the newer ones, they would liquid cool with nitrogen.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? My father would tell me. Yeah.
Wow.
So let's take a break. I hear it's time to shout out to our sponsors, and we'll come back and we'll talk about timing belts and finish up with the radio.
Okay.
All right.
And
Now we're back. That was a quick break, and
Yes.
I'm so glad we have advertisers out there that support us. And I believe it was a roofing company that we just heard. And please support your advertisers here on the radio.
Yeah.
Every one of all these companies are good people, and they have good products, and they believe in WSTU. They believe in the power of radio as well as I do. And I think we get a good message out. We communicate to the people some good information. And what I communicated about is out there. There is an alternative to getting. How many of you had bad repairs, bad experiences? You just don't feel right about taking your car anywhere. Well, like Crown Car Care, we can make it. We can overcome all those fears. We can make you feel good and happy, and we will at Crown Car Care. We'll give you the service you want. We'll give it to you at good value, with good quality repairs and maintenance, and you'll leave smiling, wanting to shout out and tell your friends how great of a job we've done at Crown Car Care. And that's my mission in life, to really do what I do. And we do here on this radio every week at 5:00. Frank and I are passionately we love this stuff, and that's why we talk about it. We just
two
had
Midwest boys.
two Midwest boys. He's a little bit north, up in that what I call the mitt. I always remember Michigan is shaped like a mitten.
Yes.
Yeah, mitten. And that horrible team, the Detroit Tigers, by gosh, the Chicago Cubs would just beat the pants off of them. I don't know about that, but I was a Cubby fan, and he was a Detroit Tiger fan, and
I am pleased to no end that because it used to be the National League and the American League teams never saw each other unless they saw each other.
That's right. It was pretty separated.
Yeah. And now we have the interleague games.
Fabulous, isn't it?
And what a great idea! And
it really, because I can remember the White Sox never played the Cubs, and they were arch rivals. I can tell you, in the neighborhood I grew up in, Libertyville, Illinois, out there, Libertyville. Yeah. I had neighbors across the street that were White Sox fans, and by gosh, they just hated the fact that I was a Cub fan.
Right.
I was a Cubby fan, Jack Brickhouse all the way, and I can remember going and watching the games live and just wishing I caught a foul ball, but I never did, doggone it. But I had fun I had fun doing it.
Right, you brought your mitt with you.
Bought my mitt, and we bought a hot dog. We didn't have a lot of money, but we'd always get a hot dog and and listen to the people moving up and down the crowds trying to sell you something.
Right.
And it was always good to go on one of the days. They give you a bat sometimes, or a hat. I can remember getting a free hat once. Boy, that meant everything to me in the world.
Yeah.
Now it did, and it was just so nice. You go to a game and you get a hat and spend the afternoon, and you never thought about anything. It was a sunny day. The weather was good, and not a worry in the world. And it's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
That's what's so fun about going to baseball games. And basketball, too. We love basketball. Basketball, the only advantage to basketball is it's AC. It's air conditioned. So if it's hot down here in South Florida, go to a Miami Heat game. By golly, you'll have a good time. I go quite a bit. My son loves basketball. And we love the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a license plate on one of my cars that's the Miami Heat. I love them so much.
Oh, cool. You got one of those.
Yeah, I like it. I like basketball. In fact, reinvigorated my basketball love was my son.
Yeah.
He just loves the game, and he plays real well. In fact, this last weekend, he won 2 games, and guess who scored the winning point on the last game?
Nice.
My son, and he had 5 threes the first game. 5 threes. He had 30-some points the first game.
That's amazing.
My son, he's 11 years old. Great kid. Loves basketball. Okay, let's go back. Well, let's wind up the radio. We'll talk about what a timing belt is, and we've accomplished our mission. We've nailed every bullet point.
Nice.
Okay, so you had the cassettes, and after that, we moved into what they call the CD, which actually kind of looked like a little mini record, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't it look like a record, kind of bigger hole, but you slid it in a slot, and it kind of fed automatically, didn't it? It kind of grabbed it and pushed it in, and I still fix them to this day. They get stuck. People would jam up paper clips in there and everything else, and then we'd have to pull it out and pull the cover off it and unscrew everything and get that rescue the disc.
Right.
And they always ask, "Did you save my disc? Did you save the disc?" You know, because it could have been AC/DC Back in Black.
Oh,
we don't want to save that one, by golly.
Yeah, right. Save the disc.
Save the disc. It could have been REO Speedwagon, for heaven's sakes. You remember them?
Sure, of course.
Of course. Oh yeah, or Triumph, or any of those bands from the 70s and 80s, late 70s and 80s, or Journey.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember all the girls in high school.
Eagles.
Those girls love Journey.
Sure.
Yeah, and he was in the news recently, the singer of Journey. I can't think of his name, but he was just in the news. He's coming back singing again.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, and he love ballads. Everybody loves those love ballads, just like I was talking about Gordon Lightfoot.
Sure.
Okay, so you had the CDs, and what that was a greater content, greater quality, right? It played longer, and you had a greater sound quality.
Right.
And then what did we move into? We moved into, where you had a little what are those things called? High compression, storage devices that you
The
could
thumb drives.
thumb drives, or you
Yeah.
could plug into your phone and play some music.
Right.
But I always liked the good old fashioned radio. I love AM radio.
Yeah.
And I love 1450
Sure.
WSTU. I have an affinity towards radio.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, good, because we have a show.
Yeah, that works out
It could
real
be-
well.
And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you're ever in the area, I don't know, knock on the window, knock on the door, we'll let you in.
Sure.
I'm not going to give you the address. You have to find it. But come on in. Love to have you as a guest. If you really want to be on my show, I'd love to have you as a guest. You can talk about whatever.
Talk about your car,
we
your
can talk
first
about your car. You want to come on
experience.
my radio show? Let's do it. Just
Yeah.
give me a call at 7.
Everybody remembers their first car.
In fact, I'd love it. Here's the invitation. Anyone out there that wants to come on my radio show live, you can come down to here. I'll have a cold drink waiting for you. We'll love you. We'll talk to you. I'll bring my Hot Wheel collection in if you want. We'll talk about anything you want. We'll talk about your first car, because
Nice.
everybody wants to talk about their first car.
That's their first love.
First
it really
love.
is. Yeah.
It was my first love.
You bet.
I had that before I had my first girlfriend.
Sure.
And my first car was a 1973 Mustang Mach 1.
Wow.
1973 Mustang Mach 1, 351 Cobra Jet with a 4-speed top-loader transmission with a 9-inch rear end.
Wow.
Kind of a rare car. I paid for it myself. I cut grass and had paper routes, and I saved all my money. And 3 years prior, I had made that decision. 3 years before I was 16, that I was going to buy that first car.
Wow.
And I knew what car I was going to buy. I knew it was going to be a 73 Mustang Mach 1, and I executed as planned.
Yes.
And I had that car in high school.
Mustangs are a great car.
I have a Mustang today. I have a
signature car.
I have a Shelby Mustang right now. I have a 2007 Shelby GT500.
A lot of people don't know. Now tell them what the difference between a Shelby.
Oh, it's a big difference.
Yes.
Carroll Shelby was hired by Ford Motor Company. He was a famous race car driver
Right.
from the Terralinga, Texas area, from that big state of Texas. Well, he did a lot of racing. I believe he's won a Le Mans. He won quite a few races.
Yeah.
He was hired by Ford to win Le Mans against Ferrari. And there's we could spend the whole show talking about why Ford tried to buy Ferrari. Ferrari told him to hit the road. He was irritated. And then he said, you know what? If I can't buy you, I'm going to beat you. So he hired Carroll Shelby. They built some Le Mans cars, and they built some Mustangs to get him up to qualify for some Trans Am racing and some SCCA racing, which is the Sports Car Club of America. And what he did was he took the factory Mustangs, modified them, juiced them up, did some doodads, some graphics, some aerodynamics, some powerful motors, powerful brakes, transmission, all kinds of stuff. And he sold them at the dealerships, and you could buy it. So it was kind of like a sub model of the Mustang.
Right.
It was called a Shelby.
Right.
And some of them today are worth over $1 million.
Oh yeah.
Now, I have an 07, which is a reintroduction. In 2007, they came back out with the Shelby when Carroll Shelby was still alive, and his life story. What a story he was.
Wow.
He was a heart transplant. He lived for years. Quite a story, the man. He was quite a fighter and quite a showman, as well as quite a marketing genius. Kind of like Lee Iacocca.
Yeah.
Lee Iacocca, he's the father of the Mustang, by the way.
Yeah.
we all
That's true.
remember.
He was right.
We all remember him for the Statue of Liberty. Remember, he raised all the money for the
Right.
Statue of Liberty, and he bailed out Chrysler. I can remember his paycheck. I believe his pay was 1 penny. He swore he'd save Chrysler back in the late 70s, early 80s, and he took no salary, and he came out with the K car. That's a
Yes.
whole nother story in of itself. The extra K car is what saved Chrysler.
Yes.
Chrysler K car. Okay, so we're done radio. Let's talk about timing belts, so I can hit my bullet points. We got a few minutes left.
Yeah,
so I
just a
think we
couple.
can-
Yeah.
minutes. We can
All
get there. We'll get a minute or two, right? We've got about a minute.
We have
30 seconds?
Yeah, we've got it's about 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Let me
Yeah.
get a timing belt. So
All
a
right.
timing belt, think of a big rubber band with a bunch of bumps on it.
Okay.
Rubber band with bumps on it. And what it does is it connects the bottom of the engine to the top of the engine, kind of like a fan belt.
Okay.
It's kind of hidden. There's covers on it. And what it does, and
It's very important to have those covers. on it.
yes,
Okay.
and what it does in tech speak is it makes the valves go up and down on this particular type of motor, overhead cam motor, overhead cam. And this timing belt is timed. And when I say timed, it's the synchronicity. It's like opening. Can you imagine two doors opposite each other, and you got to close them just right so they don't hit? Think about that. Two doors right across from each other, where the overhang of the two doors will hit if you open them at the same time. So there's perfect timing, synchronicity. Well, that's what valves are in an engine. We can talk about valves, but not today. We don't have the time.
Right.
But I can tell you that timing belt is what keeps everything in time and in sync with the valve train. You may have heard that word, valve train. with the lower part of the engine, the crankshaft.
Okay.
Okay. And what happens is it's made out of rubber and it has cord in it, kind of like a tire. It's the same construction as a tire. Okay. It's corded, cloth cord with rubber. And what happens is over time it degrades and cracks and crumbles. And then you have to change it. It's a maintenance item. We do quite a few of them. Usually you end up changing your water pump. Hondas, Toyotas, a lot of the Japanese import cars, smaller 4-cylinder cars, your base entry cars, a lot of the smaller economy cars have a timing belt. And it's a maintenance item. You have to change it. A lot of people forget to do it.
Whoops.
And you know what happens when you forget to do it?
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
You
it'll
just had-
snap on you, right?
It's like them 2 doors hitting. It'll snap and you'll bend your motor all up and it'll cost you big bucks.
Isn't that a good point?
The ending story is the maintenance item, and we can serve you at Crown Car Care, both locations on Cove Road as well as Palm City. If you have a car with a timing belt and you want further information, please call us. 772-781-8000. Ask us. We can get you scheduled in. We'll look at your timing belt. We can give you an estimate, and we can get you serviced up and get you changed out on that timing belt. We'd love to have you as a guest. We'd love to make new friends, and we always are welcoming new people into our world. And we'd like to have you out there. Any of you listening audience want to come into Crown Car Care, please do. Doors are open, and we welcome you with the red carpet treatment. Thank you so much for this hour. We'd love to have you again next week. We'll see you at 5 o'clock on Mondays. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll see you next week, and go see Todd if you want to get belted.
Get belted with the timing belt
All
there.
right.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.